right, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming. My name is Corinne Zudoni. Those of you who I've not seen yet, I think I've seen most everyone at some point. But my name's Corinne Zudoni. I'm the editor in chief, Contracting Profits Magazine, Facility Cleaning Decisions Magazine, CleanLink.com, and a number of other publications as well. And I'm here representing NFMT. It's our show put on with our partners in our facilities group, BOM, Building Operating Management, and Facility Maintenance Decisions and Facilities Net. So we welcome everyone to NFMT, and thank you for joining us. Today I'm here with Matt Streiff, and we're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about autonomous machines a little bit. So first I'm going to let Matt introduce himself. Sure. Hi.
Hi, Matt Streiff. I'm the SVP of Sales and Marketing for the Bud Group. We're a Southeast super regional janitorial, landscaping, facility maintenance, and kind of all other things company. Family owned, 62 years in the Southeast, and I've been in the industry for 25 years, both on the contractor side, on the manufacturer side, and yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah. Bud Group does a lot of things, and one thing they do very well is stay on top of trends. Anyone I work with at Bud Group, they're always asking or knowledgeable already about the latest trends going on in the industry, and there's nothing trending more than autonomous machines and technology and AI. Can you tell us a little bit about what Bud Group does in terms of promoting or educating on robotic machines?
Yeah, it's a great question. And our journey started 7 years ago, if you can believe that. 2019 is when we installed our first robot. Now, that was floor cleaning at the time, and now we're up to about 50 units across a variety of customer types. And we also have things on the outside of the house, so landscaping, autonomous mowers. And so I think you asked how do you educate people and talk about it? Well, first, I'm dating myself here. It's not like a robot comes out, says, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger." It's not lost in space. There's actually a fair amount of people management that needs to go into using the robot. And I think that's something as a building service contract, or if you're in-house, you really need to think about that. It does take care and maintenance. It does take attention to get it to work really, really well. And it can do some things in a fantastic way, but you kind of have to be on top of it.
So you're saying that it's not going to replace everyone's job. They're not all going to be cast out on the street because you've now employed a robotic machine. They just need different education. They need to learn how to use it, learn how to maintain it, learn how to work around it. Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. We have a customer where we perform a portion of their portfolio. We have two other competitors who do other portions. And so we installed a couple of robots, but we didn't eliminate anybody. And, these robots will run, they should run at least 4 hours. We're seeing about 2.5, maybe 3 hours runtime. Well, our competitor put one in and eliminated a full-time person. And let's just say that robot is not working all the time. And so what do you do to replace those hours? Because you still need to execute the scope of work. So you really need to think in depth about how do I deploy this and yet maintain some coverage, if you will, so that you don't drop your scope of work that you're trying to deliver to the customer.
And how do you educate the frontline worker? Because there is always that fear that they're going to be replaced. And if they utilize that machine too well, then it's going to take their job. How do you work with the team to make sure that they understand this is going to be an asset, not a liability to your job?
Yeah, it's a great question. Has anybody sat on a ride-on scrubber for 6 to 7 hours?
Yeah.
How much fun is that? It is not fun at all, right? And I think some of these tedious tasks that the robots will take over lead to better outcomes from your employees because they're not doing that tedious work. And if you work on that machine for that many hours, your attention goes down, your likelihood for an unsafe incident goes up, your quality may not be right. There's a lot of reasons why they shouldn't be concerned. And I think one of the biggest one is that our labor pool, whether you're in the Northeast, Southeast, it's just shrinking. And there are less available people to do the work that maybe we had 10 years ago. Now you've got somebody who can come in, and I use that word somebody towards a robot, to essentially supplement and do the work in a way that's not going to compromise your staff by saying, hey, we need to get rid of you or lay you off.
Yeah, I think it's important to communicate that to the staff, consistently. But the other thing the staff needs to understand is how to work with that robot. What do you do with your team to educate them on what the screen might look like, what they can expect from that robot, when it should start? Are they the ones responsible for getting it going? Any maintenance? They still use equipment on that machine, the floor pad, the squeegees, the filling. How do you work with the team to educate them how to use that machine?
Yeah, the first step is to get them interested in the robot. Because to your point earlier, it can be very fearful. And one of the techniques we like to do is have them join in naming the robot. And so we have one at a major airport called Dirt Reynolds.
Nice.
I think is fantastic. And that was amongst our team making that decision. And we ran a little bit of a contest around it. And then really you need to assign several people to be responsible for the unit to make sure that they understand how it works, what the cleaning is needed, etc. Because the same old things that happen when you have a push vacuum happen to the robot. Hair gets intertwined in the roller and then it stops working. Occasionally the power goes down. Something different than people is the Wi-Fi will go out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have to. We've seen significant issues where the Wi-Fi connectivity has gone down, and we've had to address that. But it's really getting them to be really familiar with it and making sure that they understand it's a job supplement, not necessarily a replacement.
Right, and it's an ongoing education. The Wi-Fi thing I always forget about, but it does come up quite often. And certainly the hair thing I can't relate to at all.
I definitely can't relate to that.
My poor vacuum is all I have to say. When it comes to the maintenance, what kind of maintenance have you experienced with the use of your robotics? A lot of people say, they question, what do I do when it breaks down? Now you have a software component added to a piece of equipment versus in the past, maybe you had a piece of equipment that you can maintain in-house or work with your distributor. What happens if it's the software that becomes problematic? Do you work with the distributor on that, the manufacturer? How do you handle that?
Yeah, we lease.
Okay.
I would recommend that just because the technology is changing so quickly. To buy one, you may be out of date in a year. So with that comes a lot more care and attention to the technology related to the software. And we've gone through, I want to say 5 or 6 different vendors and sort of have landed on 2 that have been relatively problem-free from that perspective. But the manufacturers do the warranty and the upkeep, not distribution at this point. But I will say there is a lag, right? And so I think if you're thinking about how do you deploy this in your teams, somebody still needs to be educated on doing that maintenance, and someone hopefully within striking distance of where you have these deployed. But specifically to the software question, yeah. I think the majority that we've seen over the past year and a half has just been connectivity issues, not necessarily a software issue.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
And the leasing is an interesting thing you bring up. It's something that when I've talked to some manufacturers, they talk about a leasing program. And what's kind of nice about that is when there is a new, and I don't know if this is the case with your agreement, but At least this is what they pitch to me, but they always want me to know the best things. So, um, but what they'll do is if there is an opportunity to upgrade, then you get that upgrade as part of a lease versus if you were to purchase, you kind of have to wait till you purchase again to get that upgrade, which is nice. Is that something you've experienced with with leasing?
I would say that's pretty typical. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's really nice. What about so if there's advancements? One thing I get questioned a lot is how smart is the smart technology. There's machines out there that will identify amongst themselves that I'm running out of water or I'm running out of power. They will go back to their docking station. And it's important they have a docking station that has access to water. So what kind of work does it take to actually get a piece of equipment implemented into a facility?
It's been a journey. I will say 3 or 4 years ago, you really didn't know what you were going to get. I mean, it's great to see it spinning down the hallway and making the turns, but one experience we had was there was a stairwell and an sort of a balcony, and it was a glass partition and railing, and the robot just went bananas when it went close to that. It stopped and it started spinning, did all kinds of interesting things. So it takes a little bit of time to make sure that you're getting it correct.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's good. You bring up an interesting point about the type of space that a robot actually should be used in. Can you speak a little bit to that? What is the best type of space that a robotic piece of equipment could be used?
I mean, for us, our metric is 20,000 square feet. So if your building doesn't have 20,000 square feet of, say, open area for you to use the robot, then I would not bother. I mean, it just needs that amount of time to be productive. And I'm dating myself here. I'm going to rewind everybody to the commercial real estate crisis of 2008, when basically all of property management and facility management took a hatchet to the scopes, right? And how many times a week do we do carpet cleaning now? We do one area, 1 day a week. We don't do the entire carpet every day of the week. And so when you're thinking about the robot, and this is something to very seriously consider when you're looking at the scope, realize that most scopes now, you're only doing 1/5 of the carpet during the week every day. Well, for a robot to make itself worthwhile, you need to run it every day. And so you're kind of like, well, I'm actually going beyond the scope that the customer's asking for, but I kind of have to do that if I'm going to use the robot and make it worthwhile. And I also need to have the 20,000 square feet in open area to do it.
Yeah, and you talk about making it worthwhile, which is a perfect segue because everyone wants to know about money. These are not cheap machines. We do not have, as if it's me, but unlimited budgets. Clients, in your case as a BSC, they have a certain budget. In-house, you have a certain budget. How do you look at ROI? Like, what do you look for to say this is going to be the best choice for us? What do you recommend people look for if they're just exploring autonomous machines now?
Yeah, it's a great question, one that we're wrestling with. And as I said, it's been a journey since 2019 for us. Some of our approach has been we're just going to bite the bullet and we're going to install the equipment and we're going to learn from it. And so I feel like we've learned a lot. I think sort of my approach would be to talk to the customer. Like, okay, what are the outcomes that you're looking for? An interesting thing for us is that some customers have a real interest in that beyond cost reduction. So if you look at like private education, they get students and their parents to pay money to come to school, so it's really neat for them to have a robot running around that's wrapped in their school colors and is playing their school fight song. I mean, that's kind of a neat thing. So I would kind of look at those customers that have a real interest in maybe being seen as forward progression. And then I would go down and say, all right, well, where am I having staffing issues and trouble? because then I can go and look and say I can offload a lot of work onto the robot that maybe some of my people just can't do because I just can't staff to 100%. Right? And so now that gives you a thought around how do I get my return on investment there. And it's all relative based on what you're paying to your employees and what you have coming in from your customer. It's a hard decision because, like I said, if you take out a full body, now you're relying on the robot, and for us, 50 to 75% uptime, I think, is maybe the right number. I mean, we're getting better, but we have these issues that I spoke about. So,
yeah, it's hard to identify ROI, and it's hard to give a blanket statement, that this is what you should look for, because every facility is different. But part of the ROI is really analytics and reviewing the data. Those pieces of equipment and any AI, any robotic that you use, whether it's a carpet machine, a floor machine, a window washing drone, they all provide data. So what do you use data for? And if at all, I assume you do. I should have done that research before I asked the question. What do you use the data for, and how do you advocate for the support of the continuation of that machine?
Yeah, well, I think from our perspective, it helps us understand what's been done. And so looking at that data on a regular basis, understanding where it's going, looking at the new ones that have come on and how they're adjusting, because there are, we said it earlier, a lot of new technology. Some of them now can spot a stain or a spot, and then they can move to it. If on carpet, they can adjust to take care of it. One of the things is just showing that the scope is completed. And so we do regular business reviews with our customers, and they love to see how much was getting done and what the results are. And it's interesting, rewinding to the 2008 commercial real estate crisis and the cut and scope. If you actually vacuum the carpet every day with a robot, you will see a ridiculous amount of dirt coming out of that carpet. It really is impressive. So there's a lot to be said for that and talking to the customer about it. So.
Yeah. Oh, hold on just a second.
The 1500 aisle for the cash prize drawing at Show Central.
Wow.
The drawing will be taking place.
It's very loud.
Thank you.
That was rude.
Are we at the end of that aisle? Are we giving away
We
the
are.
cash?
They're giving it away right over there. We're good. So you're all good. You don't have to go anywhere. We have 2 more minutes here, but anything that you would like to add about pros, cons? Like you said, the robotics are changing rapidly. I was just overseas learning about some. Now the robots are actually talking to one another. They're talking to robots that are used for other purposes, not for cleaning. For example, in a fulfillment center, there are robots picking things off shelves, and
Right.
the floor equipment is actually talking to those robots to stay out of their way, opening gates, going up and down elevators. What I guess I'm going to change my question. What do you see as the next step for robotics in this area?
Yeah, I think there's, look, the technology on the floor or in the grass is going to change. There's no question about it. It's a question about how you use it in your program. And so I think your management team, your supervisors need to be the area in which you focus in order to really understand the flexibility and the use cases for these things and how to really knit it together. I think for me, one of the interesting things is there are some companies that are, right now it's kind of hard to see, particularly if you have various manufacturers out there, it's hard to see all of them in one platform. But there are some companies out there that are creating sort of a multi-use platform so that you can observe what's going on across your fleet and really manage that. And so I think that's an exciting thing because we are pro robots. There's no question about that. It's just we want to be very careful and cautious on how we get there because we realize that it is not the robot from Lost in Space. It will come out and do everything. You still need someone there to help them and to help your program be successful.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because in the end, this is still a people business. But that's not to say we can't get some help. So thank you so much for your
Absolutely.
time. Any
Thanks for your time.
questions that we have for Matt about technology or? No, I think we're all good. They all want their money.
Cash is available over there at the main booth.
Yeah,
Corinne's going to be
it's true.
handing it out.
Thank you
you.
guys so much. We appreciate it.